A very good afternoon to my dear students. Today I am with you once again after completing your two poems. First, My Mother 66, and second poem, An Elementary School Classroom in Islam. Now we are moving to the second part of the same book, that is the prose section. The first chapter of your first book, Flamingo, is the last lesson. I also want to tell you there is a difference between the study pattern of prose and poetry. Actually, from prose also from this year, the passages also being seen passages are also being asked for the purpose of comprehensive questions. So from this year, this book is to be read by all thoroughly line to line. I also want to advise you, my dear students, please treat the chapters of the prose like the unseen passages for the purpose of notes making. So you will have two benefits from that purpose. You will have the thorough reading of the chapter, and secondly, you will have the practice of the notes making. Or third benefit will be there, that you will have the idea of the chapter in the forms of the points. So this is very easy to remember or easy to revise. So that can be the right purpose of it. We have also done the same practice in 11th, but this year this practice is to be done very seriously. When you will do the work in the copy for this Flamingo, first of all, chapter's name, then some difficult words you think you will write, then you will prepare the notes making of the complete chapter in the form of main point or subpoints. But I want to make your work little easy by telling you the idea of the chapter, by telling you the introduction of the chapter, by telling you the theme of the chapter. That will help you a lot in understanding the chapters. Chapter number first of your book, the last lesson. And you will start to laugh after listening the name of the chapter. Sir, you are telling the chapter number first, or the name is the last lesson. In the beginning, you also find a kind of irony. First chapter name is last lesson. But I want to tell you, my dear boys, if the word last comes with anything, last day of your life, last day of you in this school, this is your last chapter, the thing becomes more important to us, because it means that this thing will not be this today. After today, this thing will not be this. So we also started to understand the importance of the same thing. My dear friends, I want to come to the story of the chapter once again. The last lesson, written by Alphonse Daudet. This chapter was set in the time of the Franco-Prussian War. It was in 1870 or 71. In that war, the Prussia got victory on France. Prussia is now known as Germany. So Germany got the victory on the two districts of France. The names of the districts were Alsace and Lorraine. When Germany took these under their control, so what change come in the life of a school after this order? The order came from Berlin. The order was like that, by tomorrow, in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine, in place of French, German will be taught. The language German was imposed on the students of these two districts. Those were studying in the schools that time. You can understand when somebody takes the rights of your studying your mother tongue, your language, or imposed any other language on you, really it becomes very difficult. It's a very painful, it's a very distressing. So in this chapter it has been also described how the students or the teachers or even the villagers react to it. What kind of effect was on this paper? Actually, one idea I also want to tell you. This chapter also indicate about the linguistic chauvinism. Chauvinism means when some people of the country give the preference, give the respect, give the pride to their own language, and they give the inferiority sense to the other language. They disregard the other language of other country. So keeping this view in the mind, they impose their language on the people of their other country to show the supremacy of their language. This is the introduction. This is the theme of the chapter. I want to tell you they are the main two characters in this chapter. One is Mr. Hamill. He is a teacher in that school. He is teaching in that school last 40 years. He is a French teacher. He is very strict by his nature, but all the students love him a lot. And he is serving the people, the students of this country as a teacher of the French. Second character is French. He is a student who is studying in that school. He is in the beginning classes of the. And third, if you think about the characters, the villagers, they have their role of in the last part of the chapters. I'm just starting to tell you how the situation take place. One day what happens when French was going to school, and first he was late for this school. Number two, his teacher Mr. Hamill has given a lesson on the topic of participle, and he told all the students by tomorrow he would listen to the chapter or the topic of participle to every students. Already French was late. Secondly, he did not prepare this chapter of the participle. He didn't know ABCD of it. And Mr. Hamill was very strict. So he was having the fear of scolding. So the idea of running away from the school came into the mind of him. Then he decided that today I will bunk the school. There some other thing were there, they were also tempting him to do the same. The things were, number one, the weather was very charming, very pleasant. The birds were chirping in their trees, and the Persian army was having their drill practice behind the sawmill. So these things were also putting the temptation before him. So he decided to bunk, but actually the French was having the power of resisting the temptations. So after resisting on the temptation of bunking the school, he decided to go to the school. Already he was late, so he decided that he will cover up this time which he lost due to this planning. He would cover up this time by running for the school. While he was going very fast over the side of the school, on the way there was a one community hall. So in community hall there was a one bulletin board. So on this bulletin board the news related to the battle, lost battle, drafting, order of the commanding officers, these things were coming to these people of these two districts only from this bulletin board. So generally the people used to come to read these news from the bulletin boards. But that day he saw a crowd was there. The people were gathered. Now the question was coming in the mind of the French, why the people are there? Crowd is there. He wanted to know, but actually he was late for this school. So he decided to run away. He didn't stay there. So one of the person of old age group was standing there, and he cried and said, "Hey bub, why are you running? You have plenty of time to reach the school." After listening the voice of that man, the friends thought it may be possible this man is making fun of me because I am already late for his school. So he didn't care for that. So with a very fast speed, in one straight point, he reached to the school. When he reached the school, he found the things was quite unusual that day. Unusual in the sense, there was a pin drop silence in the school. It was looking like the Sunday morning. On the Sunday morning, generally the school, nobody is there, it's very silent. Generally in the school, the environment like that, the sound could be listened from the classrooms. The children were practicing in the unison. Commotion was there, practicing was there. The sound of the ruler of rapping on the benches by the teacher was also there. Different kind of hustle and bustle, pushing of the furniture. These were the general sounds were there. But that day the things was quite different. When he reached in the school and he was friend was outside the classroom, that he found all the students were in the class, the teacher was already in the class, and he was really very much afraid. Actually, generally whenever he used to get late in the class, there was a hustle and bustle, different kind of sounds, so it was easy for French to enter the class during this noise. But that time it was very difficult, and you can understand when somebody get late, the teacher is already in the class is very pinned of silence. It really becomes very difficult for anybody else to get inside the class of it. But anyhow, he mustered his courage and took the permission to Mr. Hamel. "Sir, may I come in, sir?" That day there was a change in the attitude of Mr. Hamel. Mr. Hamel said, "Oh, French, oh, you are late. Well, please come. We were going to start without you. We were waiting for you. Go and take your seat." Our friend was very shocked. What kind of a change? Change in the class. Actually, pin drop silence. Teacher also treated me with due respect. Okay, and he sat on the seat of it. Suddenly he took his position, and he looked toward the side of the teacher. He found that Mr. Hamel was in their specific dress. He was wearing the suit. Generally he was having also had the cap, but generally he used to wear this dress only two occasions. It was inspection day or the prize distribution day. But he could not understand why the teacher was in this very formal dress. And he turned back toward the back side of the benches, that he found the back benches generally used to be blank or vacant, but that day they were also filled. So that were filled, and he saw that he found the villagers were sitting, some important people of the village were sitting there. And it was also very shocking for him, and why the villagers are sitting today there. And he was in a little confusion that time. Then he decided, I should uh, I should take the position in my class. Then the teacher, Mr. Hamel, stood up and said in a very grave tone, "My dear students, today I am just going to give you the last lesson of the French. The order has come from Berlin that by tomorrow in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine, German will be taught in place of French. A new teacher would come tomorrow. This is my last day in the schools, and this is my last lesson for you." These words of Mr. Hamel thundered like a thunderclap in the ears of French. He could not believe. Now he remembered why there was a crowd on the bulletin board, why this gentleman was asking me that, "Bob, Why are you running so fast? You have a plenty of time to reach. Now he could understand. My dear friends, my dear boys, today I have given you the 50% idea of the chapters. By tomorrow I will complete it. But at the same time I am just giving you a paper that will be the screenshot of the paper that is writing the introduction, theme, characters or main points of the chapters. But one thing I told you, what is to be done by you? You can find the 50% of the part we have discussed with you of the chapters, but you have to do the notes making of the chapters. Really this is very important because you will go through the chapters, you will get the idea of the chapters, and it will be very easy for you because in the examination of annual examination a passage of 4 marks will come from these chapters for the comprehensive questions. So it's my advice to you, and I hope that all of you are studying at home with interest, and you are facing this time which is going on with great positivity and with the suitability and making the best use of the time. My dear boys, I want to tell you, don't worry. I have already said, if winter comes, it also indicates the spring is not far away. Okay, thank you very much. This is for today.